everyone, welcome back to Essy Cooks. In this video, we're going to do another healthy vegetarian meal prep for the week. We're going to make so much good healthy food. We're going to make breakfast, lunch, and a dinner option. So what I usually like to do is make something for dinner that might be freezer friendly. Maybe I can save half of it for later and I can really mix up my dinners throughout the week. I can pull out some of my old meal prep stuff from the freezer, things like that. So this really mixes it up. We're going to make this totally high in protein. We're going to be making these delicious, juicy TVP burgers. Can't believe how good these turned out for such a healthy vegan burger. So I hope you guys are going to love this one too. And yeah, we're going to make those kale salads. I mean, look at the close-up of that burger. We're going to make some kale salads with crispy, just really delicious tempeh, and we're going to make some overnight oats too for breakfast. So we're going to start with tempeh. So this is basically a fermented soy product. It's high in protein, high in fiber, and it's good for your gut because it's fermented. So I love to use tempeh when I can. If you haven't tried it, it's pretty readily available in most supermarkets now. So I'm making a double batch here. So I'm going to be using 3 blocks of tempeh, about 200 and some grams per block. And now I put about 6 tablespoons of soy sauce, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, 2 teaspoons of smoked paprika for sure. If you don't have that, it's not going to have that nice smoky flavor. You can always add a little bit of liquid smoke in there too if you want. And we're going to add maple syrup, about a 1/4 cup of maple syrup. And now we're going to move on to the tempeh. So I'm just going to cut it into nice little strips. However, if you want to cut it into different shapes, that's totally fine. The shape is just convenient and easy to cut based on the shape of this block of tempeh that I have, but cut it up however you like. It's not going to make too much of a difference. Now, I forgot to whisk this together for some reason, but whisk together your marinade and then put those tempeh pieces right in. We want to allow those to marinate for at least 15 minutes. I just throw them in the fridge, mix them up, let them marinate, and you can leave these for up to a couple of hours, but usually 15 minutes really does the trick. And you can do a few other things while those are starting to just soak in that delicious marinade. Now, my husband is making oat flour here for us, and he is actually so stoked about this. So happy to be making oat flour. So check this out. So about 1 cup of oats is going to make a little bit less than 1 cup of oat flour because these are quick oats. So what you want to do is just use a really heaping cup, about 1 cup and 2 tablespoons. Look at him. The man is not even gluten-free, but he is so happy to be making this flour. This is the best sous chef I could ever ask for. All right, now look, that is the texture that we want from oat flour. Now, the reason I'm showing you this is because we're going to be using it in our burgers later, but you don't have to make it. You can totally just use all-purpose flour. Even a whole wheat flour would work if you want to use that instead. So that's just an option, but it's just so easy to make oat flour. It is gluten-free if you are gluten-free, and it's really easy to make. It's, got a little bit more protein and fiber than you would get from an all-purpose flour as well. So that's another reason I like it. More nutrients, the better when we can sneak them in. Now we've got a nonstick pan on medium heat. I'm going to make these tempeh pieces in batches. I put a little bit of olive oil. We're on medium heat. We're going to cook those on each side until they're golden and crispy, about 3 to 4 minutes per side. I made a little cornstarch slurry with 2 tablespoons of cornstarch mixed with 2 tablespoons of cold water. That's what's going to really thicken up the sauce, make it nice and glossy and delicious. So flip all the tempeh, make sure they're golden brown and cooked on each side just like this. You can see how it has a nice little bit of crispiness to it. Don't use your hands. I'm just doing that. So save yourself. Don't do that because you could burn them, which I didn't, but just saying. Do what I say, not what I do. Okay, now we're going to add about half the marinade right on top into the pan. I actually ended up adding a little bit of water in here because there just wasn't quite enough, and I know that that cornstarch slurry is going to thicken it up, and I wanted them to be a little bit more saucy because I really like when things are saucy myself. I know some people like a little bit drier texture on things. I'm all about the sauce. So I'm going to throw half of that cornstarch slurry on there, and like I said, I did add a little bit of water just to add a little bit more to the sauce, but it still came out super thick. So if you are adding water, 1 tablespoon at a time. Don't add too much because you could ruin it. You don't want it to be watery, so be careful with that. But if needed, you can always add a little bit more cornstarch slurry, and that's that. So I set those aside and start working on the next batch. Now my husband is going to start prepping the kale. So I had 2 large bunches or 2 large heads of kale, and you have to wash them really thoroughly. Kale can collect quite a bit of dirt on it, so make sure to wash them really well. And then you can start just chopping into nice bite-sized pieces. Going to put those in a bowl, and I'm over there working on the second batch of that tempeh. So I'm just getting to the point where I'm adding the rest of the marinade on, and I'm going to add in the cornstarch slurry and everything into that pan as well. I noticed that I had a bit more sauce on my second batch, so I just threw that leftover tempeh and mixed it all together. And I'm going to show you how it turned out. Now, this tempeh recipe, you can use it with anything. It doesn't have to be with this kale salad. It's so good on top of rice. It would be good on a sandwich, in a wrap, wherever you like. So you can always save this tempeh recipe in the back pocket because it's just easy and flavorful and high in protein and fiber, and it's delicious. I just love this. I can't wait to have it again next week. I'm not filming next week. I'm just going to repeat what I made this week to make it easy for myself, because sometimes sometimes you just want to make it easy. You just want to make the same thing because it's just a little bit easier. All right, now we've got one large cucumber. Just going to dice that up into some nice little half moon pieces. And I gave my dog a piece, but we unfortunately aren't going to hear the crunch because she ran off with it. I guess it was good enough to go keep away from us. So now we're going to start with those TVP burgers. So TVP is textured vegetable protein. Again, this is basically just like a dehydrated soy product, and it is high in protein. So we love that because sometimes vegetarian, vegan sources of protein, maybe they're not as high as their meat counterparts. Like if we're using beans or lentils, for example, they're not going to have as much protein. So that's why I love things like TVP and tempeh, because we can up our protein content pretty easily by using these products. Now, I've got some flaxseed, which I'm going to be using instead of an egg to thicken up the burgers. So I've got a 1/4 cup, 4 tablespoons, because I am making a double batch. And I had, I think, at least 2 full cups of TVP there. Now, I didn't have nutritional yeast. Normally, I would add about a 1/4 cup of that. So I just added some Italian seasoning, garlic powder, onion powder, and smoked paprika. You know, my favorite flavor combo for like all food, because it just makes everything taste good. So that was 1 teaspoon of each, 1 to 2 teaspoons of each, depending on how you like your flavor. I'm just going to whisk that all together. That is the dry ingredients there. Now, TVP needs to be rehydrated because it is dehydrated. So I got some boiling water, 2 cups of boiling water, and I made it into a broth by just adding some broth concentrate into it. If you just have your broth already ready, you can heat it on the stove. You want it to be nice and hot. Now I'm going to add in about 3 to 6 tablespoons of vegan mayo. Again, this helps bind it and hold it together. And I'm going to add in about 3 tablespoons or so of dark mushroom soy sauce. If you don't have that, that's okay. You can totally use any kind of like just regular soy sauce or tamari for gluten-free, but this mushroom flavored dark soy sauce, I am telling you, the flavor, the color, everything about it is just one of those flavor enhancers that is my absolute favorite. And now my husband is prepping me up some oats. These are going to help bind it as well. So we're going to use a combination of oats and oat flour. If you don't want to use oats, there's the 1/2 cup. I'm putting 1/2 cup of oat flour right into the mixture, and I'm going to start adding in less than 2 cups of the quick oats. I don't want to add them in all at once because you're going to see, like, just keep working with the texture and see what it comes out as. If you need to add more oats, you can certainly add them, but I'd probably start with about 1 3/4 cup. And like I said, this is a double batch, so we're going to be making at least 10 patties here. I can't remember how many I made. We'll see that in a minute. Now, I like to put gloves on for this. You don't have to, just make sure your hands are clean and just kind of massage the ingredients together, because like I said, if you eat eggs or you have eggs or whatever, you can use that as a binder instead of the flax seeds. But because I'm using flax seeds and this is actually a vegan burger, you have to be a little bit careful about them getting stuck together. So I like to massage the ingredients together. It helps them stick a little bit better. And now check this out. You're going to want to check the texture. Try kind of making a little patty, see if you can toss it from hand to hand. That's a really good test. Then you know you're ready to go. Off to the races. So now I'm going to start making my patties. I could just make them like this, right? I could just roll them into kind of a ball, squish it all together and form it. But no, I want to take it up a level and make them look super aesthetic by using this. This is not a burger making ring, which I'm sure you can buy for a few dollars on Amazon or at the dollar store or something like that. This is just a large, wide mouth mason jar lid ring. And look at how perfectly that works out. So if you have, one of those just from one of your mason jars, look at how perfect you can make your burgers, nice and flat and perfectly round. And I just was so happy with how the shape came out. So you can actually pick them up. I mean, you don't want these burgers to be falling apart like mad, because you want to make sure they're holding up on the pan. So yeah, definitely play around with the texture, but If you need to, you can add a little bit more vegan mayo into it or things like that just to get your texture just right. But this recipe should work because I have made this quite a few times, and this was my first time using the mason jar lid to make them look nice, but this burger recipe has turned out every time, so it should work for you. But like I said, sometimes products are different. Sometimes the TVP is different. I don't know. Just try it and work with it. But it has worked for me, so it should work for you too if you want to have these burgers. Now, these last up to 3 months in the freezer. So they are really great for freezer-friendly meal prep. I actually wish I made a triple batch because I was already in the zone and I could have had more frozen burgers for later. I am looking forward to testing these out on the grill. They won't hold up like this, but if they're cooking from frozen, they may hold up on the grill. I don't know. I'm going to have to report back to you guys on that when I try it out. But look at how well they're holding up just in a pan. They're perfect for that. I'm going to throw those in the freezer on a tray first. Let them freeze, then throw them into a Ziploc bag. Now we are going to get ready to get on to the next step of our meal prep. So for a breakfast option, I'm going to be making some overnight oats. We forgot to film the lemon dressing, so I'm just going to add that up on the screen for you. And we're going to add that lemon dressing right onto the kale that we chopped earlier. It's a really, really simple lemon vinaigrette. And now for my overnight oats, these are cookie dough overnight oats. They are so delicious. We're going to start with each jar gets half a cup of oats. I use quick oats. You can use rolled oats. That's just what I had. A tablespoon of chia seeds. And then there are other ingredients we're going to add in here too, but I just want to mention you can add protein powder into this, but we were also having protein smoothies, so we just didn't really need to add the protein powder into this. But if you're having this just as your primary breakfast, you may want to add a scoop of vanilla protein powder in here. Now we're going to add 1 tablespoon of all natural peanut butter into each of these jars. I actually made this peanut butter homemade. If you want to see that recipe, let me know. I'll send you the link. It's so easy to make your own homemade peanut butter. And then we're going to add 1 tablespoon of maple syrup for sweetener. And I'm going to add about half a teaspoon of vanilla because it's cookie dough flavor. We need that vanilla, and half a cup of plant milk. So I just had coconut milk, so I used that. If you want more protein, use soy milk. You're going to get more protein from that. So I'm just going to mix those all up, stir them. Actually gave them a couple stirs, and then we're going to top them with some chocolate chips because these are cookie dough. You need chocolate. You need that chocolate chip. This is actually my husband's absolute favorite overnight oat recipe. I haven't made a Biscoff one yet. I think that one may trump this one, but so far this is his absolute favorite. Now look at how the bowls turned out. So we started my husband started assembling those. We put the kale. You massage the kale with the dressing. That's going to soften the kale. It's going to make it easier to chew. It's going to make it taste better. Trust me when I tell you, massage that kale with the dressing. It's going to be so much better. Then we added on the cucumber and the cooked tempeh. And now I'm adding those chocolate chips on top of the overnight oats, and look at all of this food. Another week of vegetarian meal prep. I mean, check that out. We've got breakfast, we've got lunch, we've got a dinner option, and I have more freezer-friendly options as well. I pulled a few of my favorites out this week out of the freezer. So I had some leftover meaty lentil spaghetti sauce. I had some freezer burritos that were high protein as well. So I've got all those recipes for you too. If you want them, please let me know. Look at how nicely those turned out now that they're frozen. You can just pick them up and they're perfect, ready to go. We're just going to show one more final shot of that delicious burger. These were so good. I just slathered them in barbecue sauce and added all my favorite toppings. I hope you love this video. If you want more like this, make sure to hit like and subscribe.